Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be baking a cake inside of a shoebox. This recipe is called Shoebox Cake because you cook the cake inside of a cardboard shoebox. Can you imagine? Is it possible? What's going to happen? That's why I'm making this recipe. So I originally found this recipe from the New York Times. It was an article that was written for April Fools, but all of the recipes were legitimate, real recipes. I've tried 2 of them so far, including cooking an entire chicken inside of a watermelon and a cherry coke sauerkraut mayonnaise cake, chocolate cake. And if you haven't seen either one of those videos, I will put the links above and down in the description. Now this recipe was also included, and of course I had to tackle it. And it's cooking a cake inside of a shoebox. Shoebox, this is cardboard, i.e. flammable. So how do we do it? What? Let's do it. So let's talk a little bit of what I think scientifically is happening here. So we're going to pour the cake batter into the shoebox. Yes, we're going to actually pour it into the shoebox, and that's going to act as a thermal sink. The batter is dense, it is cold, it is wet. It's going to hold on to that cooler temperature. So yes, the oven is going to be hot and heated, but because we have that thermal sink of cake batter in there, it's going to protect the box from burning. That's the theory, at least. Also, the baking temperature for this cake is relatively low. It's only 250 degrees, 100 degrees cooler than baking a typical cake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So that probably has some effect as well. So let's go ahead and make this. What we're going to need is a shoebox. I wear a size 5. This is from my last shoe purchase of running shoes. And it didn't really specify what size shoebox to get, but this worked out well for me. This makes a lot of cake batter. So if you're going to try this recipe, make sure you get a shoebox that's large enough. So next we're going to prepare our shoebox. So in the recipe it says to line it with wax paper. I decided to use parchment paper because I didn't want this cake to stick at all. So I used 2 pieces of parchment paper and I laid them oppositely because I didn't want any of the batter leaking out of the box. So this recipe is unusual on a couple fronts. Not only are we baking it in a shoebox, but it also contains no flour, at least not directly. We're not scooping any cups of flour. What we're going to use is an entire box of honey cinnamon graham crackers. Them all out of their sleeves and crush them. You're going to pulverize them until they're fine crumbs. You can do this in a food processor, but I just put them into a large plastic zip bag and I used a rolling pin and crushed them until I had fine crumbs. So once we get our graham crackers crushed, we're going to add them to a large bowl, and to that we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. This is what's going to give us our lift. Then we're going to take 6 eggs, lightly beat them, and pour that on top of our crackers and baking powder. Next, 2 cups of sugar. This is going to be very sweet. Give that a stir. Then 2 cups of milk, 1 entire stick of melted butter, 1½ cups of walnuts, and 1½ cups of pecans. Both of these have been coarsely chopped. And then 7 ounces of grated sweetened coconut. This is about half a large bag of coconut. So stir this all really well, and now we've got our batter. And then pour the batter into our prepared box. Then place this on a cookie sheet because this is going to be really heavy and kind of floppy. Then we're going to place the entire thing into a preheated 250 degree oven, and we're going to bake it for 3 hours. 3 hours. So I wasn't able to uncover any backstory about the reasoning of why you'd be baking a cake in a shoebox. Perhaps just because you didn't have anything to bake with? I'm not really sure. I appreciate the ingenuity, I appreciate the invention, and I am wondering what this is going to be like, but it didn't really explain why you would be doing this. I'd imagine because you didn't have a baking pan, maybe? No provenance. So if you guys know, do let me know in the comments down below because I'm very curious why someone thought of this. Was there some sort of tradition of it? Did you give people cakes in shoe boxes? I don't know. So here we are about 12 hours later. So I took the cake out of the oven, let it cool completely, as it said, before we want to cut it and serve it. It said, incidentally, at the very end of the recipe that the box is reusable. I love that. All right, ready to see the shoebox cake? I am. Dun, 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 dun. Now to check for doneness, you can just pierce it with a toothpick. I actually just used a chopstick right there, and it came out clean and it felt fully cooked. So let's give this a taste. Let's see if I can pull this out, see. Oh, looks like it's gonna cooperate. Yeah. And my box is clean. It did not leak. The parchment paper did its job. So I can reuse this box. Not that I would. I actually specifically saved this box so I can make this recipe. Look at this. And it's beautiful. Look at that. Oh, it's so great. Look at this. Great. And it looks great. It looks like a beautiful spice cake, and that's what it smells like. It smells of cinnamon and just sweetness. All right, I can't wait to see what this is like. Cut in cardboard. I mean, I cook this in cardboard. I cook this in a cardboard box. So funny. Okay. Okay. It's cutting pretty nicely. I want this one right here. Wow, that is a tall cake. Alrighty, let's give our shoebox cake a taste. Itadakimasu. And that's delicious. This is such a funny recipe. Basically, you take a box of graham crackers and you transform it into a cake by baking it in a shoebox. It's wonderful. The cake tastes delicious. It tastes like a spiced cake, just like you would have a carrot cake. The grated coconut in there gives it a little bit of toothsome kind of stringy bite that's very familiar if you've ever had carrot cake that contains coconut in it. Just like that. You have lots of crunchy bits from the pecans and the walnuts, which also give it this kind of rich, nutty flavor to it. And the cake is very, very moist. I think that has to do with the 6 eggs that are in there. And it's sweet, but I thought it was gonna be overly sweet. It has 2 cups of sugar in it, plus the sugar that's on the graham crackers, but it's not. This is definitely a cake, and it's delicious. And hysterical. I find it so funny that it takes 3 hours to cook, and you bake it in a cardboard box, but you get such beautiful results. And you have a perfect little container to take it. You know, you just take this to your potluck. Ba-ding. I present to you the shoebox cake. Wonderful. You don't have to worry about anything getting smushed, no icing, nothing. It's just right there. Portable, convenient, and then they can keep the box when you're done. I love it. Try this recipe if you've got 3 hours to spare and a shoebox handy. I'm sure you could cook this in the regular pan as well, but a shoebox is just so much more interesting. I will put the original recipe down in the description so you can find the whole article and the recipe amounts there as well. Alrighty, so there you have it, a shoebox cake, a cake that you can actually cook in cardboard. If you make this recipe, please share results with me on social media. I want to see your beautiful cakes. Make this recipe if you've got 3 hours and a shoebox handy. I totally recommend it. It's delightful, fun, and easy. And yeah, follow me on social media, share this video, like, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! My name is Shoebox.